Ma'am, those designer bags aren't for people like you. Maybe try the discount section? The words sliced through the elegant Aurora fashion boutique like a blade. Jennifer Cole's manicured finger pointed dismissively toward the back corner, her blonde highlights catching the overhead lights as she positioned herself between Asha Williams and the $200 Valentino purse. Asha stood perfectly still, her tailored charcoal blazer speaking quiet sophistication. Her dark eyes remained steady as Jennifer's gaze swept over her like she was cataloging defects. "I'm sorry?" Asha's voice was silk over steel. Jennifer's smile turned plastic. "These pieces require a certain clientele." She physically moved the handbag display from Asha's reach, the gesture deliberate and humiliating. One elderly customer looked appalled, but Jennifer's confidence never wavered. Have you ever been judged by someone who had no idea they were speaking to their own boss? 2:30 p.m. Store closes at 5 o'clock p.m. Asha stepped closer to the display case, her movements deliberate. "I'd like to see Valentino, please." Jennifer's eyebrows arched in theatrical surprise. "Oh, we only show those to VIP members first. Do you have a membership card?" "No, but I'm prepared to pay cash." Jennifer's tone dripped condescension. "We don't accept cash for our premium pieces. Store policy." A lie. Asha had watched 3 customers ahead of her pay cash for items twice as expensive. The register sat 15 feet away, a stack of cash transactions clearly visible beside it. Jennifer beckoned to her associate, a nervous brunette in her early 20s. "Sarah, keep an eye on this section." Sarah Mitchell glanced between them, clearly uncomfortable. "Sure, Jennifer." The store hummed with understated luxury marble floors, crystal chandeliers, the soft scent of expensive perfume. Saturday afternoon shoppers moved through the space like they belonged, their confidence born from years of never being questioned, never being watched with suspicion. Asha moved to a rack of evening wear, selecting an elegant black dress. The $800 price tag hung like a challenge. "May I try this on?" Sarah whispered urgently to Jennifer, who nodded gravely. Their conversation was barely audible, but Asha caught fragments. "Not our usual. Might be trouble." "I'm so sorry," Jennifer announced with fake sympathy. "Our fitting rooms are being maintained today." At that exact moment, a well-dressed white woman emerged from the fitting room area, arms full of potential purchases. She chatted easily with another associate about sizing options before disappearing back inside with new selections. "She had an appointment," Jennifer explained quickly. "We're fully booked, all month." The contradiction hung in the air like smoke. Several customers had noticed. The elderly woman near the jewelry counter, Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, according to her credit card, shook her head in disgust. A teenage black girl by the accessories had her phone out, filming. "I could purchase without trying it on," Asha offered reasonably. Jennifer's professional mask slipped slightly. "Are you certain you can afford this? It's $800. She emphasized each word like she was speaking to a child. "I understand the pricing. And we don't offer returns for—" Jennifer paused meaningfully, looking Asha up and down. "Customers like yourself. Special store policy." Another blatant lie. The return policy poster behind Jennifer clearly stated 30-day returns with receipt. No exceptions. Sarah's face flushed with embarrassment at the obvious discrimination. "Maybe she could check the outlet mall?" Sarah suggested weakly, trying to diffuse the situation. "They have nice options there." "Much more appropriate," Jennifer agreed, physically stepping between Asha and the dress rack. She crossed her arms like a barrier, her body language screaming ownership and control. Asha's phone buzzed insistently. The screen showed, "Board meeting reminder, Aurora Enterprises, 4 o'clock p.m. Urgent." She silenced it quickly, but Jennifer's eyes had sharpened. Something about Asha wasn't adding up to her preconceptions. The teenager by the accessories was live streaming on TikTok, her caption reading, "Y'all seeing this discrimination happening right now? #Aurora fashion, #racist, #exposed." The viewer count climbed steadily, 47, 89, 156, 234. Comments flooded the screen in real time. "This is disgusting. Call corporate now. Get their faces. Sue them into bankruptcy. I'm never shopping there again. Post this everywhere." Jennifer began making rounds to other staff members, whispering and pointing subtly at Asha. Each conversation ended with concerned glances in her direction. The store's atmosphere shifted, tension crackling like electricity before a storm. Even casual browsers could sense something ugly unfolding. Sarah kept checking her phone nervously, watching the social media storm building in real time. Other employees gathered near the register, their hushed conversations interrupted by furtive looks toward the escalating confrontation. "Perhaps," Jennifer said loudly enough for the entire store to hear, "you'd be more comfortable shopping somewhere that better matches your economic situation." The insult landed like a slap. Mrs. Hayes gasped audibly. Two younger customers pulled out their phones to record. The teenager's viewer count spiked past 400. Asha's Hermes wallet was briefly visible as she adjusted her purse, a detail worth more than most people's monthly rent. A first-class boarding pass from New York peeked from her jacket pocket. Her manicured nails and flawless makeup spoke of resources Jennifer couldn't imagine. But prejudice, Asha knew from experience, had a way of blinding people to inconvenient truths. Jennifer saw what she expected to see, not what was actually there. 2:45 p.m., 2 hours 15 minutes until closing. The tension escalated as Jennifer made increasingly obvious displays of contempt. She made exaggerated tisk sounds while rearranging merchandise Asha had touched, as if cleansing contamination. She rolled her eyes dramatically when Asha asked about accessories, pointing repeatedly toward the discount section like a broken compass, pointing nowhere. "Ma'am," Jennifer's voice carried across the store with theatrical authority, "I'm going to have to ask you to either make a purchase from our clearance section or consider leaving. We have other customers to serve." Mrs. Hayes had heard enough. "Young lady, this behavior is absolutely inappropriate and frankly disgusting." "Mind your own business," Jennifer snapped back, her professional veneer finally cracking completely. "This is my store, and I'll run it as I see fit." The room fell silent except for the soft jazz playing overhead and the barely audible sound of multiple phones capturing everything. The teenager's live stream had exploded to over 600 viewers, comments scrolling too fast to read. Asha remained perfectly calm throughout the escalating hostility, but something flickered in her dark eyes, not anger, but the cold calculation of someone gathering evidence. She was learning exactly what she'd come here to discover, and it was worse than even she had expected. 3:00 p.m., 2 hours until closing. The store's front door chimed as District Manager Brad Stevens strode in, his navy suit and silver tie projecting corporate authority. Jennifer had called him during her break, painting Asha as a problem customer creating disturbances. "What seems to be the issue here?" Brad's voice carried the weight of 15 years in retail management. Jennifer rushed to his side, her relief obvious. "This customer has been harassing our staff and disrupting other shoppers. She's demanding to see merchandise she clearly can't afford." Brad's eyes swept over Asha with practiced assessment. Her elegant posture, quality clothing, and calm demeanor should have registered as signs of a valued customer. Instead, he saw what Jennifer wanted him to see. "Ma'am, this is a high-end boutique. We cater to a very specific clientele." "I understand," Asha replied evenly. "I'm simply trying to make a purchase." "Do you understand our average transaction is over $2,000? Brad's tone was patronizing, each word carefully chosen to establish dominance. The teenage girl's live stream had exploded to 2,000 viewers. Comments poured in faster than she could read. Boycott Aurora. This is 2025, not 1955. Get their names. Call the news. Fashion blogger Zara Lane, with her 50,000 local followers, had already shared the stream with the caption, "Live discrimination happening at Aurora Fashion on 5th Street. This is absolutely unacceptable." Brad pulled out his phone, scrolling through the notifications flooding Aurora's corporate social media. His confidence wavered slightly as he saw the damage accumulating in real time. "Maybe she should start with accessories under $50? Jennifer suggested loudly, ensuring nearby customers could hear the insult. Sarah looked mortified. "Jennifer, maybe you should focus on your own work," Jennifer cut her off sharply. Mrs. Hayes had moved closer, her disgust obvious. "I've been shopping here for 20 years, and I've never seen such appalling behavior." "Ma'am, please don't interfere," Brad warned, but his authority was already cracking under the weight of public scrutiny. Asha's phone buzzed again. The screen showed 3 missed calls from corporate legal and a text message. "Emergency board meeting moved to 4 p.m. PR crisis brewing. Need you ASAP." She glanced at the message, her expression unreadable, then looked directly at the teenager filming. "Keep recording," she said quietly. "This is very important." 3:15 p.m., 1 hour 45 minutes until closing. Brad made his next mistake by doubling down. "We have a payment plan system, but it requires credit checks and employment verification." "I'm paying cash," Asha repeated. "For our premium items, we need additional security measures. Credit card deposits, ID verification, proof of income." Brad was improvising policies that didn't exist, each requirement more ridiculous than the last. A young couple who'd been browsing quietly stepped forward. "Excuse me," the woman said, "but we just bought a $3,000 handbag with cash 10 minutes ago. No one asked us for employment verification." Jennifer's face flushed. "That's different circumstances." "How exactly?" the woman pressed. The live stream viewer count hit 5,000. Screenshots were spreading across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with hashtags #AuroraRacism and #retail discrimination trending in 3 cities. Corporate customer service was being overwhelmed. The main number had logged 47 complaints in 30 minutes, each caller demanding answers about the viral video. Sarah discreetly showed Jennifer her phone screen displaying the social media explosion. "Maybe we should call this off," she whispered urgently. But Jennifer was too deep in her power trip to back down. "People like her need to know their place," she hissed back. Brad called over Mike Torres, the store's security guard. Mike, a soft-spoken man in his 40s, approached reluctantly. He'd seen discrimination before and recognized it instantly. "Mike, please escort this woman to the exit," Brad ordered. Mike hesitated. "Sir, she hasn't done anything wrong. She's just trying to shop." "She's disrupting our business," Jennifer interjected. "Look at all these people with their phones out. She's creating a scene." "She's standing quietly asking to make a purchase," Mike replied. "The scene is being created by your treatment of her." The standoff crystallized around race, power, and human dignity. Asha stood at the center, surrounded by staff intent on removing her, while customers formed an impromptu circle of support. 3:30 p.m. Livestream viewers, 8,500. Brad's phone rang. The caller ID showed Aurora's regional vice president, Patricia Moore. His face went pale as he answered. "Sir, we have a situation trending on social media involving your district." Patricia's voice was ice cold. "I need you to resolve this immediately before it becomes a federal case." Brad stepped away, his conversation urgent and whispered. When he returned, his demeanor had shifted to barely controlled panic. "Ma'am," he addressed Asha with forced politeness, "perhaps we can work something out." But Jennifer, oblivious to the corporate pressure mounting above her, pushed forward with her final power play. "No," she declared. "This is my store floor, and I'm asking her to leave. Security cameras are recording everything for our protection." She turned to address the watching customers. Aurora Fashion maintains the highest standards for our shopping experience. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone who doesn't meet our clientele expectations. The words hung in the air like a confession. 10,000 people were now watching live as Jennifer doubled down on discriminatory policies that violated both corporate standards and federal law. Asha's phone buzzed with another urgent message. Board meeting in 25 minutes. Crisis management team assembled. Your presence required immediately. She looked at the message, then at Jennifer, then at the teenager still streaming to her rapidly growing audience. A small smile played at the corners of her mouth. You have about 3 minutes, she said quietly to Jennifer. 3 minutes for what? Jennifer snapped. To enjoy being the manager of this store. The comment seemed cryptic to everyone except Asha. But something in her tone made Brad's phone ring again, this time with an urgency that made him step outside to take the call. 3:35 p.m. Aurora racism trending in 8 cities. Mrs. Hayes spoke up one final time. Young woman, you should be ashamed of yourself. This lady has conducted herself with perfect dignity while you've behaved like a bigot. How dare you call me? Jennifer began. The truth? Mrs. Hayes interrupted. Because that's exactly what this is. Textbook discrimination, and it's being broadcast to thousands of people. The teenager's stream had broken 12,000 viewers. Local news stations were starting to pick up the story. Aurora Fashion's stock price had begun dropping in after-hours trading as investors caught wind of the brewing scandal. Jennifer made one final mistake. She stepped closer to Asha, her voice dropping to a threatening whisper that the phone microphones barely caught. Next time, shop somewhere more appropriate for your situation. This is a place for people with real money and real class. The insult was captured in perfect audio. 12,000 people heard it live. Screenshots immortalized her expression of smug superiority. Asha nodded slowly, as if filing away every word for future reference. Thank you, she said quietly. That was exactly what I needed to hear. 3:38 p.m. Asha pulled out her phone with deliberate calm, her movements precise as a surgeon's. The store fell silent except for the soft jazz and the barely audible sound of thousands watching through live stream. She dialed a single number. This is Asha Williams. Emergency board meeting. Conference room A. Now. Her voice carried quiet authority that made several customers straighten unconsciously. Jennifer rolled her eyes, assuming it was some desperate bluff to intimidate them with fake corporate connections. Patricia, clear the room. We have a code red discrimination incident requiring immediate intervention. Asha paused, her dark eyes never leaving Jennifer's face. Yes, it's exactly what we feared. Worse, actually. She ended the call and looked directly at Jennifer. You have about 2 minutes. 2 minutes for what? Jennifer's voice cracked slightly, but her arrogance held firm. To clean out your office. The teenager's live stream exploded to 15,000 viewers as comments flooded in. Plot twist incoming! She sounds like she knows something. Who is she? This is getting insane! Brad rushed back inside, his phone pressed to his ear, his face the color of old paper. The conversation was urgent, hushed, panicked. Fragments carried across the store. CEO herself? How was I supposed to know? Damage control immediately. Stock price dropping. Fuck. He approached Jennifer with unsteady steps. We need to. There's been a development. What development? Jennifer snapped. I'm handling this situation perfectly. This woman is clearly trying to intimidate us with fake phone calls and corporate name-dropping. Sarah's eyes darted between her phone screen and the unfolding drama. The hashtag @AuroraFashion was now trending nationally. Corporate headquarters was being bombarded with calls, emails, and social media messages demanding explanations. The company's official Twitter account had gone silent. Never a good sign during a crisis. Asha's phone buzzed with a text from Patricia Moore, Regional VP. Emergency response team deployed. Legal standing by. Board members alerted. How do you want to handle this? She typed back quickly. Full documentation. This was the test case we needed. Proceed with Protocol 7. Mrs. Hayes stepped closer, her business instincts sharpened by 40 years in corporate law. Something about Asha's demeanor, her word choices, her calm confidence in the face of escalating hostility, it all pointed to someone with real power. Excuse me, dear, but are you saying you work for Aurora Fashion? Asha smiled enigmatically. You could say that. 3:40 p.m. Live stream viewers, 18,500. The store's atmosphere had shifted completely. What started as a routine Saturday afternoon shopping experience had transformed into a live-streamed corporate crisis. Customers weren't even pretending to browse anymore. They were gathered around watching history unfold. A mother with 2 teenage daughters pulled out her phone to record. Girls, you're witnessing something important here. Remember this. The live stream comments were moving too fast to read. Someone recorded this for evidence. Jennifer is about to lose everything. I've never seen anything like this. Corporate accountability in real time. Brad's phone rang again. This time he answered on speakerphone, too rattled to think clearly about privacy or protocol. Mr. Stevens, this is Patricia Moore, Regional VP. I need you to listen very carefully. The woman you're attempting to remove from the store is... Jennifer grabbed the phone with desperate aggression. Ms. Moore, this is Jennifer Cole, store manager. I can handle this situation. We have a disruptive customer who's been harassing staff and creating disturbances. She's probably just another scammer trying to... Jennifer, stop talking! Patricia's voice cut through the store like a whip crack. The woman standing in front of you is Asha Williams, the CEO of Aurora Enterprises, the person who signs your paychecks, the person who owns the company, the person whose net worth exceeds the GDP of small countries. The words hit like a physical blow. Jennifer's face went through a spectrum of colors, confusion, disbelief, then growing horror as the reality began penetrating her consciousness. That's not possible, Jennifer whispered, the phone slipping from her nerveless fingers and clattering to the marble floor. The live stream audience erupted in chaos. Comments scrolled in an unreadable blur. She's the CEO! Jennifer is so fired! Karma is real! I'm screaming! Best plot twist ever. Someone call CNN. Sarah backed away from Jennifer like she was radioactive waste. Mike, the security guard, actually smiled for the first time all day, crossing his arms and settling in to watch justice unfold. Other employees began distancing themselves, suddenly remembering every complaint they'd heard about Jennifer's behavior, every racist comment she'd made in the break room. But the revelation wasn't finished. Asha was just getting started. 3:42 p.m. Multiple news outlets picking up the story. Asha stepped forward, her voice carrying across the store with the quiet authority of someone accustomed to boardrooms and billion-dollar decisions. I've been conducting undercover assessments of our retail locations for the past 6 months, she announced, ensuring the live stream captured every word. This store has received 47 discrimination complaints in 18 months. 23 specifically mentioned you, Jennifer. 16 mentioned your management style, Mr. Stevens. Jennifer's legs wobbled like a newborn colt's. She grabbed the counter for support, her acrylic nails scraping against the glass. Today was your final evaluation. A comprehensive test to determine if the complaints were justified, if the patterns were real, if our corporate values were being upheld at the store level. Asha's tone remained calm, professional, and devastating. You exceeded my worst expectations. The teenager behind the camera was practically vibrating with excitement. Y'all, this is the most insane plot twist ever. The CEO was testing them and they failed so bad. This is going to be studied in business schools. Other customers began applauding spontaneously. Mrs. Hayes started a slow clap that spread throughout the store like wildfire. Even shoppers who'd just walked in, sensing the electricity in the air, joined the ovation. Brad stood frozen in place, his career flashing before his eyes in real time. His district included 12 stores. If Asha had been conducting assessments. "How many stores have you visited?" he asked weakly, though he already knew the answer would destroy him. "All of them." Asha's response was a corporate death sentence delivered in silk. "Your district has a systemic pattern, Mr. Stevens. This isn't an isolated incident, it's institutionalized discrimination under your direct management." 3:44 p.m. Live stream viewers, 25,000. Jennifer found her voice again, desperation making it shrill and panicked. "You can't be the CEO! You're... Black?" Asha finished quietly, letting the word hang in the air like an accusation. "Yes, I am. I'm also Harvard Business School class of 2003, summa cum laude. Former vice president at Goldman Sachs. Former senior partner at McKinsey & Company. And the person who built Aurora Enterprises from 12 struggling stores to 847 locations across 38 states with annual revenues exceeding $2.4 billion. Each credential hit like a hammer blow to Jennifer's crumbling worldview. The woman she'd spent an hour demeaning and dismissing had accomplished more before breakfast than Jennifer would achieve in a lifetime. "I didn't know," she whispered, the words barely audible. "You didn't care to know. You saw my skin color and decided I didn't deserve basic human dignity, common courtesy, or the simple respect due to any customer." Asha's voice never rose, never wavered, but carried the weight of centuries of similar experiences. You assumed, you discriminated, and you doubled down when challenged by witnesses and evidence. Sarah was filming with her own phone now, documenting the corporate meltdown for her own protection, and probably her TikTok account. The story would be reshared millions of times in the next 24 hours, becoming a case study in corporate accountability and social justice. The front door chimed as Patricia Moore burst through with two other executives and a woman carrying a briefcase clearly marked Aurora Enterprises Legal Department. The cavalry had arrived, but the battle was already over. This was just the cleanup crew. "Ms. Williams?" Patricia approached with the profound deference due to someone who could eliminate entire districts with a phone call. "We came as soon as we received your code red alert." Jennifer watched this interaction with growing horror, the final piece of evidence clicking into place. The respectful tone, the urgency, the legal team, the emergency protocols. It was all devastatingly real. She had just spent an hour systematically destroying her career while being live-streamed to tens of thousands of witnesses across multiple platforms. 3:46 p.m. Trending on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Asha turned to address the camera directly, knowing her words would reach far beyond this store, this moment, this single incident. "I started Aurora Enterprises because I believed luxury retail could be inclusive. I believed customers should be judged by their character and purchasing power, not their appearance or perceived social status." She paused, letting the weight of the moment settle over the watching thousands. Today proved we still have significant work to do. The teenager holding the camera was crying now, overwhelmed by witnessing this unprecedented moment of corporate justice delivered in real time to a global audience. "But meaningful change starts with absolute accountability," Asha continued, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd spent decades fighting similar battles. "And accountability starts right here, right now, with consequences that match the severity of the offense." Jennifer sank into a display chair, the fight completely gone out of her. The reality was crushing. She'd just committed career suicide while discriminating against the most powerful person in her professional universe. Brad stared at his phone, watching his own termination email arrive from corporate HR, followed immediately by a calendar invitation for an exit interview scheduled for Monday morning. Mike, the security guard, stepped forward. "Ms. Williams, I want you to know I was uncomfortable with this whole situation. I've seen discrimination before, and I knew this was wrong." Asha nodded appreciatively. "I noticed, Mike. Your performance today will be noted in my report. The game was over. The queen had revealed herself on the chessboard, and the checkmate was about to follow with devastating precision. 3:48 p.m. Legal documentation begins. Patricia Moore approached with the efficiency of someone who'd handled corporate crises for 2 decades. Behind her, the legal team spread across the store like a SWAT unit, documenting everything. Camera angles, witness statements, employee positions during the incident. Ms. Williams, we have the preliminary damage assessment, Patricia announced, her tablet displaying real-time analytics that made Brad's face go ashen. Aurora fashion stock down 3.2% in the last hour. Social media engagement down 34% across all platforms. The hashtag #AuroraRacism is trending in 15 countries. She scrolled through data with practiced efficiency. We've logged 847 customer complaints in the past 90 minutes. Jennifer sat motionless, watching her world collapse in spreadsheet format. The legal team leader, Maria Santos, stepped forward with her briefcase. We have documented violations of multiple federal statutes. Civil Rights Act of 1964, Section 1981 discrimination claims, state consumer protection laws, and violations of our own corporate inclusion policies, Section 4.2 through 4.7. What's our potential exposure? Asha asked, though she already knew the answer. Based on similar cases, Washington vs. Luxury Retail Corp. settled for $2.8 million. Johnson vs. Elite Fashion resulted in $3.1 million plus punitive damages. Maria's voice was clinical, precise. Current legal precedent suggests exposure between 2.5 and 4.2 million, assuming this goes to trial. 3:52 p.m. Live stream viewers, 35,000. The numbers weren't just legal abstractions, they represented Aurora's reputation. Built over 15 years, crumbling in real time. Competitor brands were already capitalizing on social media. Nordstrom welcomes all customers with dignity and respect, had been posted 12 minutes ago. Let's discuss immediate personnel decisions, Asha said, her voice carrying across the store to ensure everyone understood the gravity. Patricia consulted her tablet. Jennifer Cole, immediate termination for gross misconduct, discrimination, and violation of federal law. 0 severance, no positive references. Security will escort her from the premises. Jennifer made a small sound like air escaping from a punctured tire. Bradford Stevens suspension pending full investigation of his 12-store district. If patterns emerge, termination with cause. Patricia's words were surgical strikes. Preliminary review shows his district accounts for 31% of all discrimination complaints company-wide. Brad's phone buzzed with messages from his wife, his mortgage company, his kids' college financial aid office. Word was spreading through his professional network faster than he could contain it. Sarah Mitchell written warning and mandatory bias training within 48 hours. Her cooperation during the incident will be noted favorably. Sarah exhaled with relief, her job hanging by a thread but still intact. Mike Torres commendation for professional conduct under pressure, salary review, and promotion to senior security supervisor. Mike straightened with pride. Thank you, Ms. Williams. 3:55 p.m. Corporate restructuring announced. Asha addressed the legal team with the authority of someone who'd navigated corporate battlefields for decades. Immediate implementation of Protocol 7. I want comprehensive bias audits of all 847 locations within 60 days. Maria was taking notes rapidly. Anonymous reporting system? Aurora Ally app launches Monday. Any employee or customer can report discrimination incidents directly to my office. Bypass all local management. Asha's voice carried the weight of systematic change. Response time guaranteed under 4 hours. The teenager's live stream had become accidental documentary footage of corporate accountability in action. Comments flooded in. This is how you handle racism. CEO accountability goals. Why don't all companies do this? Patricia pulled up financial projections. The diversity training program will cost approximately $2.1 million across all locations. New hiring requirements management teams must reflect community demographics within 6 months. Estimated implementation cost, $800,000. Approved, Asha said without hesitation. What's our timeline for restoring brand confidence? Conservative estimate 6 to 8 months with aggressive transparency campaigns. We'll need quarterly public reports on discrimination complaints, resolution outcomes, and demographic hiring data. 4:00 p.m. Emergency board meeting via video conference. A tablet was positioned so board members could witness the aftermath firsthand. Asha addressed them with the calm competence that had built Aurora into a retail empire. Board members, what you've witnessed today represents both our greatest failure and our greatest opportunity. We can emerge from this crisis as the retail industry leader in inclusive customer service. Board member Dr. Michelle Roberts appeared on screen. Asha, the financial exposure is significant, but the reputational damage could be catastrophic. How do we prevent this from destroying 15 years of brand building? By owning our mistakes completely, Asha replied. No corporate doublespeak, no deflection, no minimizing. We discriminated against a customer who happened to be me, and we're implementing immediate, measurable changes. Another board member, James Brooks, joined the conversation. What about legal strategy? Do we settle quickly to minimize publicity? Maria Santos shook her head. Actually, we're not facing a lawsuit. Ms. Williams has chosen education over litigation. No customer complaint has been filed. The room fell silent. Jennifer looked up with something approaching hope. However, Maria continued, we're implementing changes as if we lost a major discrimination case. It's called proactive compliance getting ahead of federal oversight. 4:05 p.m. Systemic changes announced. Asha turned to address the camera directly, knowing her words would reach corporate offices across America. Effective immediately, Aurora Enterprises is implementing the most comprehensive anti-discrimination program in retail history. Every employee, from part-time associates to executive management, will complete 40 hours of bias training within 90 days. The specificity was deliberate, measurable, accountable, impossible to ignore. We're establishing a $100,000 community investment fund for minority-owned businesses in every city where Aurora operates. Our mystery shopper program will prioritize diversity testing, with results published quarterly on our website. Patricia was coordinating with IT in real time. The Aurora Ally reporting app will be available for download Monday morning. Anonymous, encrypted, with direct escalation to executive leadership. What happened to Jennifer? Mrs. Hayes asked, voicing what everyone was thinking. Asha looked at Jennifer with something approaching compassion. She'll receive information about bias counseling resources. Her choices moving forward are her own responsibility. 4:08 p.m. Industry implications. The live stream had evolved into an accidental masterclass in crisis management. Business schools would dissect this moment for decades. Asha's approach, immediate accountability, systematic change, public transparency, was rewriting corporate response protocols in real time. This isn't just about Aurora fashion, Asha told the thousands watching. Every retail worker, every customer, every person who's experienced discrimination should know that change is possible when people with power choose to use it responsibly. Jennifer stood on shaky legs. Security waited to escort her out, but she paused beside Asha. I'm sorry, she whispered, the words inadequate but genuine. Learn from this, Asha replied quietly. Use this experience to become better. The transformation was complete. In 30 minutes, Aurora Enterprises had evolved from a company with a discrimination problem into an industry leader in inclusive retail practices. The cost was steep millions in implementation, months of scrutiny, careers destroyed. But the alternative continuing to fail customers like Asha was unacceptable. 4:12 p.m. Immediate consequences. Security guard Mike approached Jennifer with professional courtesy. a stark contrast to how she'd wanted him to treat Asha just minutes earlier. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. "Ma'am, I'll need to escort you to collect your personal items," he said gently. Even in her downfall, he maintained dignity, a lesson in humanity that Jennifer was only beginning to understand. Jennifer's walk to the back office became a perp walk of shame, live-streamed to 40,000 viewers. Comments ranged from celebration to sympathy. Karma served cold, mixed with, "I hope she learns from this." Patricia Moore addressed the gathered crowd of customers and employees. "Aurora Enterprises takes full responsibility for today's events. We failed our values, our customers, and our community. But failure becomes meaningful only when it drives real change." The statement would be quoted in business journals for years to come. 4:15 p.m. Asha's Law Implementation. Within Aurora's corporate offices, emergency protocols activated like a military operation. The legal department drafted what would become known internally as Asha's Law, a zero-tolerance discrimination policy with teeth. Maria Santos read the key provisions aloud for the livestream audience. Any employee found guilty of discrimination faces immediate termination. No warnings, no second chances, no appeals process. Discrimination is grounds for dismissal, period. The policy went further than federal requirements, establishing Aurora as the most aggressive anti-discrimination employer in retail. Other companies would either follow suit or risk looking complicit by comparison. "Mystery shoppers will test for bias monthly at every location," Patricia announced. "Results published publicly on our website, broken down by store, region, and demographic outcomes." 4:18 p.m. Sarah's redemption moment. Sarah Mitchell stepped forward, her voice shaking but determined. "Ms. Williams, I want to apologize publicly. I was complicit in what happened today. I knew it was wrong, but I was afraid to speak up." Asha nodded appreciatively. "That's exactly why we're implementing anonymous reporting. Fear shouldn't prevent employees from doing what's right." "I want to do better," Sarah continued. "I want to be part of the solution." "Then you'll lead our first bias training session next week," Asha decided on the spot. "Sometimes the best teachers are people who've learned from their mistakes." The gesture sent ripples through social media. Comments shifted from pure anger to recognition of growth opportunities. "This is how real change happens," and "everyone deserves a chance to learn." 4:20 p.m. Community Impact announced. Mrs. Hayes approached Asha with a business card in hand. "I'm Eleanor Hayes, a retired civil rights attorney. I'd like to volunteer for your community advisory board." "We don't have one yet," Asha admitted. "You do now," Eleanor smiled. "I'll help you build it." The spontaneous community formation was captured live, showing how discrimination incidents could catalyze positive organizing rather than just punishment. "We're establishing quarterly community forums," Asha announced. "Local residents will help us understand how Aurora can better serve diverse neighborhoods." The $100,000 Community Investment Fund wasn't just corporate charity, it was economic justice, creating pathways for minority entrepreneurs to access resources typically reserved for established businesses. 4:25 p.m. Industry transformation begins. Asha's phone buzzed with messages from rival CEOs. Nordstrom, Macy's, and Target were all requesting emergency meetings to discuss implementing similar policies before facing their own viral discrimination incidents. The Aurora model, as business journals would later call it, was already spreading across corporate America. Preemptive bias training became standard practice within 6 months. Patricia showed Asha her tablet. 12 major retailers have announced enhanced discrimination policies in the last hour. You've started an industry revolution. But Asha wasn't interested in corporate credit. "This isn't about Aurora looking good. This is about making sure no customer faces what I faced today." 4:28 p.m. Personal transformation stories. Jennifer emerged from the back office carrying a small box of personal items. Her mascara had run, her confidence shattered, but something in her posture suggested the beginning of self-reflection. She paused at the door, looking back at the scene that had destroyed and potentially redeemed her simultaneously. "Ms. Williams," she called out softly, "what should I do now?" Asha considered the question seriously. "Learn. Grow. Use this experience to understand how discrimination feels. Maybe someday you'll help others avoid making your mistakes." It wasn't forgiveness, exactly, but it was something rarer, a path forward through accountability rather than just punishment. 4:30 p.m. Measuring success. The live stream was winding down, but its impact was just beginning. The teenager behind the camera, Destiny Rivers, had inadvertently documented the most comprehensive corporate discrimination response in retail history. "This video will be used in business schools," Dr. Michelle Roberts observed from the board meeting tablet. "Students will study how to turn a crisis into systemic change." Asha addressed the camera one final time. "Real change isn't about destroying people, it's about transforming systems. Jennifer made terrible choices, but Aurora created the environment where those choices were possible." The company's stock had stopped falling and begun recovering as investors recognized the long-term value of proactive inclusion policies. 4:35 p.m. Legacy building. Patricia announced the establishment of the Asha Williams Inclusion Award, recognizing retail employees who demonstrated exceptional commitment to serving diverse customers. "The first recipient," she continued, "is Mike Torres, for maintaining professional standards and human dignity under pressure." Mike's face lit up with pride. His example would inspire countless retail workers to choose courage over compliance when witnessing discrimination. Mrs. Hayes addressed the lingering crowd. "I've been practicing law for 40 years. Today I watched corporate accountability happen in real time. This is how progress actually works, not through legislation alone, but through leaders choosing to do better." The Aurora fashion store had become an accidental classroom in corporate responsibility, with thousands of students watching from around the world. As the immediate crisis transformed into sustainable change, one thing became clear. Asha Williams hadn't just exposed discrimination, she demonstrated how power, when used with wisdom and restraint, could create lasting justice. The real test would come in the months ahead, as policies became practices and promises became measurable outcomes. But today, in this store, change had begun. 6 months later, the transformation was measurable, undeniable, and revolutionary. Aurora Enterprises hadn't just recovered from the discrimination crisis, it had evolved into the retail industry's gold standard for inclusive customer service. Asha stood in the same Aurora fashion store, now completely renovated with diverse staff and community artwork. Sarah Mitchell, promoted to store manager, greeted customers with genuine warmth. Mike Torres trained security personnel across the region in de-escalation techniques. The numbers told the story of real change. 0 discrimination complaints across all 847 Aurora locations for 4 consecutive months. Employee satisfaction scores increased 28% company-wide. Customer diversity up 45% in previously homogeneous markets. The ripple effect across America, Asha's quiet revolution, had sparked an industry transformation. The Aurora model became mandatory study material in business schools. Harvard Business School created a case study titled Leadership Through Crisis, the Asha Williams Approach. Other retailers scrambled to implement similar policies, not from altruism, but from fear of their own viral discrimination incidents. The economic pressure of potential boycotts drove change faster than decades of civil rights advocacy. Destiny Rivers, now 18, had parlayed her viral live stream into a full scholarship studying social justice journalism. Her video remained the most watched corporate accountability moment in social media history, with over 12 million views across platforms. Mrs. Eleanor Hayes chaired Aurora's Community Advisory Board, ensuring customer voices shaped corporate policies. Her legal expertise helped draft anti-discrimination language now used by Fortune 500 companies nationwide. Personal redemption stories. Jennifer Cole's journey proved that even perpetrators of discrimination could find paths to growth. After months of bias counseling, she began speaking at diversity training seminars, sharing her story as a cautionary tale about unconscious prejudice. "I thought I wasn't racist because I didn't use slurs," she told training audiences. "But my actions showed I didn't see black customers as fully human. That's racism, whether I admitted it or not." Her transformation wasn't forgiveness. It was accountability leading to authentic change. Some criticized giving her a platform, but others recognized the power of reformed perpetrators educating potential discriminators. Measuring lasting impact. Aurora's quarterly transparency reports became industry benchmarks. Discrimination complaint data, resolution timelines, and demographic hiring statistics were published publicly, creating unprecedented corporate accountability. The Aurora Ally app processed over 3,000 anonymous reports in its first 6 months, most involving minor bias incidents resolved through education rather than termination. Early intervention prevented major discrimination crises at dozens of locations. Asha's leadership philosophy, transform systems, don't just punish individuals, influenced corporate policies across industries. Tech companies, restaurants, and healthcare systems adopted similar proactive bias prevention programs. Economic justice outcomes. The Community Investment Fund distributed $2.7 million to 147 minority-owned businesses across Aurora's markets. Local economic development flourished as corporate dollars supported previously overlooked entrepreneurs. Aurora's stock price reached all-time highs as consumers rewarded authentic inclusion efforts with increased spending. The business case for diversity wasn't theoretical anymore. It was proven in quarterly earnings reports. The continuing journey, but Asha knew the work was never finished. Discrimination evolved, adapted, found new expressions. Vigilance required constant education, measurement, and accountability. "Perfect inclusion doesn't exist," she told audiences at the National Retail Federation conference. "But the commitment to keep improving, that's what creates lasting change." These Black stories, these real-life stories, these touching stories of transformation prove that individual courage can drive systemic change. When people with power choose justice over comfort, entire industries evolve. Asha Williams didn't just expose discrimination that day. She demonstrated how quiet power, applied with wisdom and persistence, creates louder change than anger or revenge ever could. Your voice matters. Have you experienced discrimination while shopping, dining, or seeking services? Your story has power. Share your experiences in the comments below, not for sympathy, but for solidarity and change. Have you witnessed bias but stayed silent? Tell us what would help you speak up next time. Your growth matters as much as your past inaction. Tag 3 people who need to see this example of grace transforming into systemic change. Share this video if you believe dignity should be standard in every business interaction. When we document discrimination, we create evidence. When we share these life stories, we build movements. When we demand accountability, we force transformation. Subscribe to Black Voices Uncut for more stories of quiet revolutionaries creating loud change. Hit that notification bell, because when we speak truth to power with purpose and strategy, the whole world listens and evolves. Remember, real change happens when we use our power not to destroy others, but to build systems that protect everyone. Asha Williams didn't just get revenge. She got results that will protect countless future customers from experiencing discrimination. Your story could be next. Your voice could spark the change someone desperately needs. What will you do with your power?
Reality isn't always easy to hear, but that's exactly why we tell it. At Black Voices Uncut, we go beyond the surface, showing what others won't. If you value unfiltered truth, hit like, comment your perspective, and subscribe. Every voice matters, and every truth deserves to be heard.